I am going to take this opportunity to be very open and honest on how I survived the AIDS crisis. And I remember when AIDS, or what they used to call it, the gay cancer, came out. Dr. Fauci, yes, the same Dr. Fauci, coming up with some CDC guidelines. It was brand new. We didn't know what was out there. We knew there was a virus. It was very scary. And one of the guidelines that said, for right now, abstain from sex or stop having sex or only have sex with yourself or only have sex with one partner. And I remember the community was very divided. Part of the community said, okay, we're going to follow these CDC guidelines. And I remember the other part of the community basically saying, F you, we're not going to follow these guidelines. We're not going to let the government dictate who we have sex, when we have sex, how we have sex. It's unfortunate because AIDS was really roaring at the time. And it's unfortunate because some of those people that decided not to follow the CDC guidelines are no longer with us. And some of us decided to follow the guidelines. I remember at first I said, okay, I'm not going to have sex for a year until they figure out what's going on here. And I basically, what I did during that 1 year is take matters into my own hands. And yes, there was a lot of masturbating, but I felt safe with that. So my friends always laugh when I say, well, what'd you do? I said, you know what I did? I took matters into my own hands, literally. Then after that, I remember the CDC guidelines were, okay, we believe it's being contacted by semen and blood. So stay away from semen and blood. And I remember right around that time, a lot of jack-off clubs started forming. A lot of, there was these clubs where basically they were like kind of like circle jerks, and you got around in a circle and jerked off. And I remember they had a really funny guideline that said, no lips below the hips. So that was one of the guidelines that we had to adhere to when we agreed to be in these circle jerk-offs. So, it sounds funny now, but we were very serious about it back then. No lips below the hips. That was the guideline, and we adhered to it. So, it was still safe, and you still, did your thing. So those were some of the ways that I was trying to stay HIV negative. Another way was, they said, okay, you can have sex, but you have to wear a condom. And, of course, condom sales went up the roof. There was taglines for all these things happening. And the tagline for wearing a condom was, no glove, no love. So, I would go to the Save-Ons or the Thrifties and buy my, Trojan condoms and, to have safer sex. There was no things as safe sex. It was known as safer sex. So between taking matters into my own hands, attending some of these no lips below the hips events and condoms, that was one of the ways that I stayed HIV negative.